President Biden is back in self-isolation after testing positive for COVID-19 again over the weekend. According to the White House, he is not experiencing any symptoms. The president's doctor says that he is experiencing a so-called rebound case. That's what they call it. It's a rare possibility in those who have been treated with the antiviral drug Paxlovid, which the president received last week. So here to discuss the latest on all of this is White House reporter for the Associated Press, Zeke Miller. Zeke, thanks for joining us. So here we have the president testing positive after he tested negative. What is the latest on the president's COVID status, how he's being treated, and what about the people who he was in contact with over the weekend after he tested negative?
Well, as you said, the president is back in COVID isolation. That's not where he wanted to be right now. He wanted to get back on the road to talk about some of his legislative accomplishments that his party is pushing through Congress right now, and also to start getting himself on vacation. He was supposed to be in the Wilmington, Delaware this weekend at his family home, and he's instead at the White House alone with his dog. We know that he is not experiencing, at least as of yesterday, the last update from his doctor, not experiencing symptoms, and it's protocol doesn't for rebound cases doesn't generally indicate additional treatment unless that's warranted. So the president's not on any new drugs, not back on Paxlovid. He's just in isolation, waiting this out essentially until he's no longer infectious again. We have not heard from the White House the status of the people around the president last week. He largely wore a mask indoors, but did take his mask off a couple of times indoors around other people. The White House had said they tried to create a buffer space between the president and other folks indoors. But as of now, we're not aware of anybody who may have tested positive after contact with the president, but also haven't heard a firm update from the White House on that.
All right, fingers crossed that no one else does test positive. In the meantime, it's business as usual in the Capitol. I want to ask you about a couple of issues that are on the table. Last week, Senators Chuck Schumer and Joe Manchin, they reached a deal on the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. What's the latest on that deal, and do we know when it will be brought to the Senate floor?
It really is full steam ahead on that deal. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has indicated to his caucus that he would like to try to get this done before the chamber breaks for August recess. It potentially means some action on that this week. There are some really big stumbling blocks, not just because you're talking about a piece of legislation this size. It's fairly massive, and trying to do that in such a compressed timeline. Because this is done through that budgetary process called reconciliation, the Senate parliamentarian has to go through that bill. We're waiting on that process. And then also critically, Democrats need all 50 Democratic senators to vote for this. Big question mark around Senator Kristen Sinema. She has not weighed in publicly in support or opposition to this bill. So that will certainly determine the fate of this legislation and how quickly Democrats can bring that to the floor.
And then before I let you go, another bill that is of supreme interest to veterans and their families, the burn pit bill. It was held up by Republicans over the cost, basically. Where do things stand with that?
Republicans got a lot of heat on this over the weekend. The Senate is going to bring this back up likely earlier this week. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Senate Republicans to reverse course and support this legislation. Their political opposition right now is largely unsustainable. They'll get a vote on the amendment that they want to try to get this bill forward. That will probably fail. Then they'll probably have to go ahead and support it because they are in a box right now because most of these Republicans voted for what is essentially the same piece of legislation with the same quote budgetary gimmick that they're objecting to now just a month and a half ago. They're going to have to turn around and support this bill given for just a few months out from midterms.
Right, and we're going to be talking about that bill a little bit later on the show, give people details about what it actually entails. But for now, Zeke Miller, thank you very much.
Thanks.